You're locked into DodorVibe FM from Little Haiti to the world. And right now, it's time to dive in. This is DodorVibe Deep Dive, your rundown of the top stories that mattered this week, from Haiti to the U.S., Port-au-Prince to Paris, and across the Caribbean diaspora. News, culture, and headlines that hit home. Whether you missed it or need a recap, we've got you. This is DodorVibe Deep Dive, and it starts right now. Let's go.
You're tuning in because you want a real, a clear understanding of what's happening in Haiti right now.
Yeah, you're looking for the important stuff, the connections, and, well, a picture based on solid sources.
Exactly. We've got recent news articles, a press release.
And our mission here, our goal with this deep dive, is really to pull out the most critical information.
We're talking Haiti's political climate, the humanitarian crisis, international angles, and how this hits the diaspora.
We want to give you a full picture, but, make it digestible.
And you'll see as we dig in, it's all deeply connected, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. You see these direct links, these sort of aha moments connecting security, hunger, international moves.
Okay, let's dive right in. The security and political situation, it's pretty stark.
It really is. The first thing that just jumps out is the scale of the security breakdown.
That figure. Gangs controlling 85% of Port-au-Prince.
On 85%, yeah. And that's not just a number. It fundamentally changes daily life. It means order has, effectively collapsed in large areas.
And that control means people can't move freely. Goods can't move.
Precisely. It severely limits movement, and that just makes living conditions worse and worse for everyone.
The human cost is just immense. Look at the displacement figures.
Staggering, aren't they? Over 78,500 people displaced just in the first quarter of 2025.
More than double last year's number for the same period.
Yeah, double. Think about that sheer logistics, the human suffering behind that figure. So much upheaval, so fast.
And that level of displacement, it just puts unbearable pressure on resources that were already thin, right?
Exactly. And then you look at the political side and it gets complicated.
You mean the Transitional Council working with that paramilitary group?
Yes, the collaboration with the brigade for the security of protected areas. It's interesting.
Because they used to be an environmental agency.
Right. Originally environmental protection. Now they're allied with Guy Philippe, the former rebel leader.
That definitely makes you wonder about the power dynamics shifting, doesn't it? Who's gaining influence and why?
It raises a lot of questions. Why would an environmental group get involved like this? What's the end game?
And then on the international front, the UN's involved, extending the security mission.
They've extended the authorization for the support mission, yes, but there's disagreement there too.
About what kind of mission it should be.
Yeah, exactly. The U.S., for instance, they've been pushing for something closer to a full peacekeeping operation.
Suggesting they think a stronger, more direct military hand is needed.
That seems to be the implication, but Russia and China aren't on board with that.
What's their perspective then?
They're arguing that, a military solution by itself isn't enough.
Okay.
Their focus is more on stopping the flow of weapons, the smuggling. They feel that's a key driver of the violence.
So it's this debate, boots on the ground versus cutting off the supply lines.
Pretty much. It brings up that fundamental question, really. Can external military force create lasting stability if you don't tackle the root causes, like the weapons trade?
It's a tough one. And all this insecurity, as you said, feeds directly into the humanitarian crisis. It's looking incredibly bleak.
It is. The hunger statistics alone are deeply alarming.
The projection is over half the population.
Over half, yes. Around 5.7 million people expected to face acute food insecurity through June 2025. That's just a massive number.
And within that group, some are facing actual starvation.
They estimate about 8,400 people, mostly those displaced by the violence, living in makeshift shelters. They're projected to face starvation, level 5 catastrophe on the IPC scale.
Just devastating. And that level of hunger must put immense strain on the health system, too.
An unbelievable strain, yeah. On a system that's already crumbling, as we'll discuss.
So what's causing this? I mean, obviously the violence, but how does it play out?
Well, the gang violence is the primary driver.
Right.
It directly disrupts food distribution. Transport routes are blocked or too dangerous.
So food can't even get to where it needs to go.
Often, no. And then you layer on top of that the economic collapse. Inflation is running over 30%.
Over 30%? Wow.
Yeah, so even when food is available, it's becoming unaffordable for so many people.
It's a vicious cycle then. Insecurity makes the economy worse, which makes the hunger worse.
Exactly. A truly vicious cycle.
Okay, let's shift focus a bit, maybe to the U.S. and the diaspora connection. The TPS decision caused a lot of waves.
It really did. The Trump administration's move to end temporary protected status, TPS, for Venezuelans and Haitians, about 350,000 people combined.
And TPS, that's the status for people whose home countries are unsafe to return to?
That's right. Temporary legal status. Ending it creates huge fear and uncertainty, especially in places like Miami with large immigrant communities.
And these aren't just numbers, right? These are people who've built lives.
Absolutely. Many TPS holders are business owners, essential workers. They're woven into the fabric of their communities.
The sources mentioned Doral, Florida specifically.
Yeah, in Doral, something like 40% of residents are Venezuelans. The impact there is huge.
And local leaders, even across party lines, are concerned.
Yes, there's bipartisan concern. Calls for more action to protect these communities, recognizing the economic and social contributions these people make. It has real consequences when that stability is threatened.
Meanwhile, up in Canada, the Haitian diaspora seems very mobilized.
Very much so. That packed conference room at Maison d'Haïti in Montreal you mentioned for the JIDH Summit launch back in April.
Yeah.
That really speaks volumes, doesn't it? It shows a strong commitment, a proactive effort from the diaspora to support people back home and those seeking refuge.
It highlights that crucial role diaspora communities play in crises.
Definitely. Providing aid, advocating, keeping connections strong.
Now, looking at Haiti's neighbors, the Dominican Republic has faced some criticism.
Yes, specifically over its deportation practices regarding Haitians.
Particularly pregnant women.
Reports suggest an increase in deportations, including pregnant and breastfeeding women. And given the state of healthcare in Haiti right now, well, it's deeply concerning.
You're sending vulnerable people back into a situation with almost no medical support.
That's the fear. The UN, human rights groups, they've raised alarms about the risks involved. Access to essential care is incredibly limited.
How bad is the healthcare situation exactly? The sources painted a grim picture.
It's incredibly fragile. Less than 40% of health centers in Port-au-Prince are even operational because of the violence.
Less than 40%.
Yeah, and major hospitals like the University Hospital of Mirabalais have had to shut down operations at times or face severe disruption.
So the ones still open must be completely overwhelmed.
Totally overwhelmed.
Yeah.
And facing critical shortages of staff, medicine, basic supplies. It's a collapse that just makes the whole humanitarian crisis even worse.
Switching gears again slightly, France is also re-engaging, but on a different level, history.
Right. President Macron announced this joint commission with Haiti to look at their shared historical legacy.
And this comes as there are louder calls for reparations related to that old indemnity payment.
Exactly. The timing isn't accidental, I think. There's growing pressure on France to address the legacy of the ransom Haiti was forced to pay after independence.
Can you remind us what that was about? It sounds unbelievable.
It really does. So, Haiti wins its independence in 1804, a landmark achievement. But in 1825, France basically shows up with warships and says, pay us or else.
Pay them for what?
To compensate the former French slave owners for their lost property, meaning the enslaved people who had freed themselves.
Yeah.
Haiti, under duress, agreed to pay 150 million francs. It was later reduced to 90 million, but it was still a crippling amount.
And campaigners argue this debt wrecked Haiti's economy from the start.
That's the core argument. This monstrous debt, as they call it, burdened Haiti for decades, diverting funds from development. Modern estimates put its equivalent value somewhere between maybe $38 billion and $135 billion US today.
Wow. Understanding that history certainly adds another layer to Haiti's current struggle.
It provides crucial context for the long-term economic vulnerabilities, absolutely.
And the current instability, it's having these knock-on effects everywhere. Even tourism, which wasn't huge but was present.
Correct. Look at Real Caribbean. They've temporarily pulled Labadee from their itineraries.
That's their private beach area in northern Haiti.
Yes. The reason they gave? Safety concerns, directly linked to the gang violence and political instability. They've suspended all excursions, too.
Guest and cruise safety has to be the priority, of course.
Naturally. But while Labadee is somewhat isolated, it still provided some income for local vendors, didn't it?
That's true. It was a contained experience, but there were local craft markets, things like that.
Right. So suspending visits, even to a private resort, it still cuts off a source of income for some Haitians who relied on that tourist traffic. It just shows how far the ripples of this crisis spread.
Okay, on a completely different note, there's something new starting up in the media space, focused on the diaspora.
Yes, quite interesting. A new station, DodorVibe FM, is set to launch in Brooklyn at the end of May.
What's their angle?
It's billed as a community-driven radio and social media network. The focus is on celebrating cultural diversity, unfiltered expression, really connecting the diaspora.
And their launch event theme sounds very timely. Breaking the invisible chains, media, diaspora, and the future of Haiti.
It really does capture the moment, right? Honoring Haitian culture, recognizing the power of diaspora media to shape narratives, especially now.
And they're streaming it globally.
Yeah, plans to stream live in Haiti, Canada, France, the U.S., the Caribbean, aiming for broad reach.
So it's more than just a local radio station.
They're positioning it as a cultural movement rooted in Brooklyn's Little Haiti, but aiming for global connection. It's an interesting development to watch.
So bringing this all together as we wrap up this deep dive, it feels like the security crisis is really the linchpin, isn't it?
It seems to be. That breakdown in security is just fueling this devastating humanitarian catastrophe. They're inextricably linked.
And we've seen the different international responses, the debates at the UN, the deportations, the historical reckoning with France.
Alongside the incredible efforts of the Haitian diaspora, mobilizing support, providing aid, launching new platforms like DodorVibe.
And then there are those wider economic impacts, like tourism taking a hit, on top of the historical economic burdens.
It's just a convergence of crises.
Yeah.
Deeply complex, deeply interconnected.
It really leaves you thinking, doesn't it, about the long game. What does it actually take to break these cycles of instability?
Yeah, and what are the most constructive roles for everyone involved, the international community, yes, but also the diaspora itself, trying to help Haiti build a more stable, more resilient future?
Definitely a lot to mull over, so many layers to this situation.
And that's your deep dive. The headlines, the stories, the voices that matter, brought to you by DodorVibe FM. Catch us every week for a recap of the news that moves our people, our culture, and our world. Missed part of the show? No stress. Replays continue all week and are always on DodorVibe.com and on our socials at DodorVibe. Until next time, stay sharp, stay loud, and stay connected. This has been DodorVibe Deep Dive, from Little Haiti to the world.